Berserker mod, also known as a rite of passage for the most mentally ill of Resident Evil players, enhances the Requiem experience in a way that will certainly end with your fist going through your monitor. By adding in new and stronger enemies to areas they have absolutely no business being in, cutting your health bar down to the size of my will to live, as well as turning our weapons into glorified BB guns, while nerfing our parries so hard it makes Sekiro players sweat. Getting sent back to your latest checkpoint every few minutes was inevitable, especially on the hardest difficulty, Insanity, but not for us. We are going to beat this steaming pile of dog shit in a single sitting, without dying. The rules are simple. Besides the usual playing on the hardest difficulty, no glitches, no cheating, and enabling all the hardcore options for the Berserker mod, as well as no DLC or bonus items, except for the ones you can find within the mod, there's only one important rule. Should Leon encounter God, we won't reload our latest checkpoint, we will be sent back to the start of the game. Our adventure starts off with trust fund nepo baby Leon Kennedy on his way to his dad's clinic for his therapy session to deal with unresolved daddy issues. Pulling up on the main road in our brand new Porsche, we ran into our first problem. The local crack epidemic brought traffic to a halt, with the addicts committing unspeakable crimes in hope of satisfying their itch, meaning we had to make it there on foot. Thanks to the conveniently placed gun store, we could stock up on resources before figuring out how to deal with the present situation. Fortunately, we're in America, so we could just discharge our firearm without fearing any consequences, letting us reach the main road where we could get our first taste of what the Berserker mod had on offer, which mostly boils down to an ungodly amount of enemies. However, here we also gain access to the most important item in the early game, the pump-action shotgun, or better known as the kneecap obliterator 9000. With this baby we managed to make it all the way to the end of the road, only getting touched inappropriately a reasonable amount of times. So just like your average New York subway experience. Realizing that even though we made it through, we would still have to walk about 15 minutes, we decided we'd be better off just buying a new car. 200 grand down the drain, we arrived at the Rhodes Hill Care Center, just in time for our appointment. Seeing as we're the boss's son, the receptionist threw in a free session with the chiropractor, for reasons. Unfortunately, the staff had decided to unionize and rebel against their corporate overlords, meaning we had to step in to protect our assets, with violence if necessary. Now it was finally time to show off the power of the shotgun, and the most effective way to deal with ungrateful employees throughout the run. By kneecapping the approaching socialists, we knocked them down in a single shot, letting us perform the hatchet execution, and this works for every single basic zombie, as long as they're not in possession of the chainsaw, turning phase 1 into absolute light work. However, eliminating the first wave signals everyone inside the sex dungeon that the party was over, and unfortunately for us, it was bring your dog to orgy day. Am I dead? No. What? Okay, that was fucking dog shit. While I'm busy losing our attempt not even 5 minutes into the run, it's a good time to remind you to like, subscribe, hype and comment and all that shit to tickle the algorithm's special spot and keep making my life hard, as well as making me hard if we reach the 1000 subs mark. On our second attempt, we came prepared. By positioning ourselves near the stairs, we can one-shot the licker with the chainsaw, before he even has a chance to lick us where the sun don't shine. And despite almost getting our organs harvested for a second time, we managed to make it back to the main hall. For some reason, the terror alarm had been raised, putting the entire building on lockdown. I wonder what could have caused that. To make sure none of these unionization communist ideas enter the scientists' ears in the lab, we had to reach them first, which meant we had to find 3 quarters hidden throughout the hospital to unlock the door to the backyard. This led us to the basement where we found a blind little girl and a security guard whose head just decided to explode for no reason. Does anyone actually do their job here? We grabbed the West Wing keycard as well as the security guard's rifle and made our way over there. Housing the hospital's VIP clients, we had to make sure the service was up to our standards. So we paid Gordon Ramsay a visit in the kitchen, but despite his firm anti-worker Berserker stance, he was slacking off too. So unlike the usual, we were going to put him down, which with the help of the rifle turned out to be quite manageable. Shooting him in the head and keeping our distance lets us take him out in just 5 shots. But I would be lying if I said we only took him out for his poor performance. The late stage capitalist that we are, we relieved him of every penny he owned, as well as harvesting his blood, as we are gonna need that very soon. We cleared out the remaining enemies on the ground floor and made our way to the CEO's office to relieve him from duty, letting us grab the first quartz and the red jewel, granting us access to the hospital's gambling parlor. On our return trip to the main hall, we stopped by at ammunition to grab the level 1 body armor. And you might be wondering why we're not upgrading our weapons. The reason is actually quite simple. I figured that our best bet was to get the level 3 body armor as soon as possible to help us survive the never-ending bullshit the Berserker mod was gonna throw at us. In addition, the god combo of a good kneecapping paired with a lobotomy should be sufficient enough to carry us through the early game, leaving us with more cash to upgrade the better weapons we'll get access to later on. So with the level 1 body armor secured, we headed to the gambling parlor, just to find the doctors passed out from last night's binger, providing grounds for dismissal, even if we would have done it without. Someone was kind enough to lend us a hand, handing us the East Wing keycard, and on the way out we stopped by at the vending machines, which for once were not completely worthless. Thanks to our diligent collection skills, we had just enough to get our hands on some steroids. These not only heal us back up to full, but also increase our HP permanently. And considering we are only a baby's cough away from returning back to the start of the game, we were going to hunt down every single one of these. As we entered the East Wing, we found out why we never came here before. With the absolute horrors of public healthcare on display, half-finished surgeries of high-ranking staff members, doctors that didn't even understand how to use their tools, and the food giving everyone IBS. This place was just a straight-up shithole. However, despite being the owner's son, not everyone was pleased with our assessment. Excuse? What? After getting mauled by a licker for the second time, we made it back, provided our patented head-splitting service, and wiped this patient's ass for good measure, which let us rob the surgery staff's belongings. Our next stop was the second floor to get our hands on the level 1 security wristband. But to get there, we first had to get past Dr. Frankenstein and his cronies. If we hide behind the plants, we can wait for them to finish up their smoke break, and unlike our previous run, I finally knew that you could just sneak up on lickers to take them out quietly, letting us clear out the waiting area without causing major noise pollution. For those unfamiliar with our previous challenges, there's one very special enemy located here, the HIV man. His absolute hatred for loud and obnoxious American tourists will cause him to unleash his unmatched rage on anyone that dares to disturb his opium trip. And we will use that to our advantage. By heading upstairs, we got our hands on the level 1 security wristband, which triggered Chunk to spawn in. Built like the target audience for Walmart scooters.
Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing?
And us not wanting to deal with his bullshit, we made a run for it, grabbing a kiss from his caretaker on the way back to the waiting room. And because we planned ahead and grabbed a bottle in the dining hall earlier, we were ready to execute plan Ozempic. If we line up a bottle throw with the door right here, we'll send the HIV man into a frenzy, just as Chunk's waddling down the stairs. And as long as we hit the right spot, he'll beat him to a pulp. As long as we hit the right spot. I fucked it up. Jesus Christ, I'm dog shit. It seems like having over 200 hours in a game doesn't mean anything if you're shit. We'll have to deal with him later, but there was one thing far more problematic than my shit tier gameplay. One major change the Berserker mod brings to the table is giving Leon access to the blood collector. And besides blood puddles and blood bags, killing enemies is our main way to gather blood for crafting items. But here's the problem. For some reason, after a while, our enemies just stop dropping blood, effectively cutting us off from a huge amount of resources. The only fix for this, reloading our last checkpoint or saving and quitting out. Neither of which were an option for us. The rules are clear. As much as it pains me, we'd have to come up with a precise strategy to deal with our resource problem. But we'll deal with that when we get there. So for now we took the HIV man off the Employee of the Month board, made a pit stop in the storage room to grab the pantry keys, and returned back to the West Wing to find the security manager's organs. However, the place had been infected by lickers, but finally all the time spent playing Assassin's Creed as a kid came in handy, as we snuck up on all three of them to clear us a path to the pantry. Unfortunately, the new recruits caught salmonella from snacking on the raw chicken, turning them into feral beasts. However, by just running a loop around the ground floor, they forget what they were even doing most of the time. Am I dead? Am I dead? This way we pick them off one by one, letting us access our very first charm, Connoisseur, providing any firearm we attach it to with a small boost in firepower and some much needed ammo. Inspecting the garage revealed further poor work ethic, resulting in additional layoffs, despite some odd complications. We recovered someone's lungs just sitting here, sent Joe back to the job center for driving under the influence, and headed to the second floor to clean out the remaining staff. In cold storage we found the missing heart, so we could finish up our security manager's surgery. But before we could do that, we first had to deal with Chunk, who was still roaming the East Wing halls. So on our way back we stopped by Ammunition once again to get the level 2 body armor and set our eyes on Chunk. Fortunately, he was quite hard to miss. If we lure him to this doorframe right here, we can just shoot him in the head without him having a chance to fight back. That's very rude. We finished up the surgery, but something must have gone horribly wrong, as he died mere seconds later. I guess we'll just blame it on one of the foreign doctors. With McDonald's stock price tanking after Chunk's departure and access to the isolation ward secured, it was time for us to return to the second floor. Dr. Gideon, raging homophobe and our father's second in command, was in possession of the second quartz, or more precisely, it was locked away in a safe in his office. Afraid that someone might discover his homoerotic fan fictions, he installed a lock that could only be melted off with corrosive acid. Fortunately for us, there was some in the conference room, but it was guarded by RFK Jr. promoting the dangers of vaccinations, accompanied by his smooth-brained followers. The key here was patience. If we just waited for the liquor to come to us, we could put him out of his misery without putting ourselves in danger. Junior got his uncle's special treatment, and the remaining attendants enjoyed free knee replacements and a head massage, letting us pick up the acid. But when we returned to Gideon's office, he was already waiting for us, wondering what in God's name we were doing to his hospital. But it didn't matter. We should enjoy ourselves while it lasted. We would see soon enough. Well, that wasn't ominous at all. Anyway, we grabbed the second quartz and made our way into the isolation ward, where we found the third quartz locked away. There was just one problem. Opening the safe required us to think, and that wasn't happening. But there was an easy solution: child labor. Unfortunately, the commotion we caused woke up the crazies locked away here, but that's nothing a serving of lead couldn't fix. We returned to the girl in the basement to tell her she would be promoted if she saw after our quartz problem. She wasn't amused with our ableism, so we ended up kidnapping her against her will. However, unbeknownst to us, Mr. X was sent by Child Protective Services to stop us, but informing him that she was just a 2,000-year-old lady stuck in a child's body convinced him to let us pass. However, said comment lured in all the attendees of the local anime convention, who were salivating at the chance to fulfill their lifelong dream. Fortunately, the absolute fisting we received here last time around led to a very consistent strategy to deal with this fight. With the Connoisseur charm equipped, we waited for the first blisterhead to come rushing in, immediately taking him out with the Requiem, followed by unloading our shotgun into Agent Smith over here to provide him with traumatic head injury. This lets us take out the remaining blisterheads with the Requiem, and thanks to Agent Smith's axe, we could take out the flaming chainsaw asshole instantly as well. While the bloater was busy figuring out what even happened,
what the dog doing?
We were already dealing with the patient sleeping on the far end of the arena. The final enemy also got a taste of the God combo, leaving us only with the bloater, who we could get to follow us, shooting his disgusting pimples every time he got stuck in the window, finishing him off with the help of our patient's crack pipe and a roundhouse kick. The girl finally managed to get us the quartz, but some vile, disgusting creature kidnapped her in front of us, and honestly we couldn't care less, but she still had the quartz. In the meantime, we pay a visit to Dr. Gideon in the attic, performing surgery on us. What the hell is going on here? Informing Dr. Cantwaffle here that he was operating on the wrong person did not yield the results we were hoping for, so we had to free ourselves by force. But before we even had the chance to figure out what was going on, Gideon had already locked us in. However, we did feel the sudden urge to do heroin. Looking for a way out of here, we found chunk number 2 binge eating to mourn the loss of his brother. But to save the hospital some money dealing with the repercussions of obesity, we decided to put him down. And fortunately for us, being too big to fit through a doorframe made dishing out massive damage quite easy. By unloading our entire stock of ammo into his massive head, we can stun him multiple times before he breaks through the doorframe and goes berserk. Following that up with becoming Obi-Wan and exerting our dominance by using the high ground lets us deal with big chungus fairly quickly. A quick restock of our resources and another dose of steroids pumped in our blood later, we escaped the attic via the service ladder. But as we arrived in the main hall, we had only one question. What the fuck happened here? Before heading up to Victor's office to confront him about his disturbing urges, we stopped by the shop to get our hands on the level 3 body armor to guarantee the protection of our virginity.
What are those?
However, as soon as we reached the stairwell, shit hit the fan. In front of us, a guy armed with an explosive canister, plus a licker charging at us like he was a billionaire and we were a child. While at the same time, 2 blisterheads were queuing up behind us to put their hands in places they do not belong. There are 2 ways to deal with this situation. We either blow up the place and take out the licker, letting us kneecap our 2 rear abusers, or we just run like a little bitch. The positives about running away: as soon as we make it back to the main hall, the licker's goldfish brain makes him forget what he was even doing. The negatives are this is inconsistent as hell, and we have to loop all the way around from downstairs to deal with the blisterheads. But it did work, letting us reach the conference room, where the next round of bullshit was already waiting for us. But the kneecapping prowess of our shotgun made fighting off the blisterheads somewhat manageable. What was not manageable was fighting off the licker, hiding behind the conference table. But while I was panicking, I discovered that we were able to craft acid bottles, giving us a clean way to insta-kill him. Or at least it would be clean if you don't play like a complete lobotomite. Pulling the lever for the world's slowest door signals the reinforcements to come flying through the window. But we only need to kill the blisterheads spawning in to progress, which with the help of some grenades and another good kneecapping from our shotgun wasn't too difficult. Bidding farewell to Taylor Swift and Victor's private chef, we made it to the upstairs office. However, Gideon was nowhere to be found, but accessing his computer revealed something we just couldn't believe. We had a twin brother, and he was at the hospital. Rejoining Leon going after the child in the basement, I was surprised we made it this far within our first couple of attempts. But the basement was a different beast, especially considering it seemed like the hospital was moonlighting as a prison camp. But we did start off in proper American fashion by sending the escaped convicts straight to the afterlife. This place was a proper horror show, and to avoid unwanted consequences later down the road, we made sure all the enemies in the main area were sleeping soundly. Arriving at the main prison tract, we found the girl, and she was not amused by our antics of shaking her cell door like she was an attraction at the local zoo. If we wanted, of course, we had to get her out, which meant we had to restore power, and for that we needed 2 additional plugs. Unfortunately, this place was designed by someone with grade A brain damage, meaning we had to remove the first power source to get to the others, which spawned in the girl's abductor, also known as the girl. Viewers familiar with our previous challenges will know about our special hiding place behind the toilet. This lets us sneak past her to use her allergy to light against her by setting her skin on fire. But it wouldn't be the Berserker mode if there wasn't some major bullshit waiting for us. For some reason, this licker got stuck in the door, making sneaking up on him a tad problematic. No. Oh, he's chasing us. Bye. Oh, you can come in here? I can't move. Are we seriously losing the run because of this shit? These guys are so tanky. I think we are cooked. Or maybe not. We may have survived, but that was way too close. We had to bring our A game to beat this challenge. And oh boy, did we not. Can we clutch it? No, we can't. I think we did. No. Despite the odd close call... Oh, what the fuck? We made it back to the basement on our next attempt. The importance of staying calm and not rushing can't be overstated. With 3 billion lickers lurking in the dark and Marie's ability to one-shot us, we had to be smart about this. Fortunately, as soon as we scorch her delicate skin, we have the opportunity to silently take out the elephant surgeon, as well as the licker in the corridor. And by keeping firm eye contact with this guy, he refuses to fall in love with the door, letting us split his head open. After we collected the second power plug, we carefully snuck up on the licker patrolling the entrance area to get to the square socket wrench, which made Marie spawn in behind us. But just letting her finish her feast and sneaking past her on the opposite side gives us a clear path to return to the main area. However, it seems like Papa Kennedy had a few more skeletons in his closet than we thought, or in this case, in his basement. Fighting these troglodytes in here was a recipe for disaster, which is why we grabbed the power plug and made a break for it, quickly turning the lights back on to protect us from Marie. Could you just wait a second? I'm kinda busy here. With the help of a stacked grenade, we committed a hate crime and picked up the forklift keys, letting us access the processing area, at least once we've taken care of the next wave of liquor reinforcements. This led to quite a useful discovery. By shooting the crackhead fondling the door, we sent the liquor behind him into a frenzy. But just like every woman I've ever talked to, he got bored 5 seconds later, letting us sneak up on him. We picked up our next dose of steroids, burned off Marie's skin once again, took out the final liquor, and squeezed through the white woman walking down the street in India Simulator to arrive at processing. Disposing of the recently deceased by turning them into ground beef was most certainly morally reprehensible, but sure as shit good for the bottom line. What would not be good for our bottom line was getting sucked in with them. But by tucking ourselves into this corner, we turned into a human vibrator, and if we just shoot the zombies in the head, they end up getting sucked into the meat grinder before completing their transformation into a blister head, which let us pick up the third plug. As we were sliding down the blood slide reminiscing about the masterpiece that is the evil within, a wave of nostalgia washed over us, as well as a wave of human remains.
That is fucking disgusting.
We kneecapped the crack addicts charging us, stole their plug and took the elevator out of here. Whatever they are selling, we ain't buying. To avoid even the remotest chance of bullshit occurring on our way out of here, we used our additional plug we just picked up to clear out the bunk room, before returning to the forklift to retrieve the final plug, letting us free the kid. With the pedophiles pouring out from every corner, there was only one choice: run. Here's where using the additional plug came in very handy. While dodging past Mr. X is definitely possible, I was not willing to gamble or run on it. Dipping into the bunk room made getting past him 100% consistent, finally letting us escape the basement. Marie was kind enough to drop off a new toy for the kid, which we traded her for the quartz she kept safe for us all this time. Despite contemplating putting her back into her cage, she did see her mission through for us, so we handed her a new contract confirming her promotion. Before we headed to the lab, there was one more thing we needed to take care of. So defying the laws of gravity, we parked on the sofa and got going. I purposefully left every single crate inside the care center untouched for this exact moment. With blood crafting being basically non-existent for us, we were forced to trick the game into giving us what we needed. Fortunately, the RE9 item algorithm is what we in the business call a gullible sucker. By selling off any excess ammo as well as all our other weapons, besides the shotgun, we can guarantee that every single random loot crate drops a shotgun ammo, which in theory should provide us with enough firepower to last us till the end of the game. But in an unfortunate twist of events, it turned out that I had fucked us. I was under the impression that ammo drop rates were only dependent on what kind of weapons you had on you, which is not exactly wrong, but it's also possible to influence the amount of ammo you receive, because I literally literally start tweaking if I have to pass an item without picking it up, I always made sure to pick up crafting materials to get that dopamine hit in. But that was a huge mistake, as the amount of crafting ingredients you possess gets factored in by the item algorithm. I'm gonna be straight up honest here, I've got no idea why I thought crafting materials wouldn't count in the first place. The only plausible answer I could come up with is that I'm an idiot, who not only made this challenge much harder for no reason, but every single one we've attempted so far. And you know what the best part about this was? I only discovered this by mere coincidence, because this attempt was, how should I put it, shit. Handicapping myself by refusing to do the bare minimum of research was a new low point for this channel. Is this what being a flat earther is like? With our ammo stocked up nicely and drenched in shame, we picked up the girl and made it out into the backyard, where we met Henry, our dad's pilot. We told him to prep the helicopter to take us to the parking lot once we finished up our business inside the lab. So like any good rich parent, we dropped the kid off on the caretaker to get to work. But surprisingly, the lab was completely abandoned. Wondering if we were too late or corporate had decided to replace everyone with AI, we stumbled upstairs, just in time to eavesdrop on Victor. Him celebrating the success of Phase 1 was pointing to our AI theory. However, when he initiated the self-destruct sequence, we were left confused. And that confusion turned into anger when we discovered he had taken the last elevator ride out of here, forcing us to fight through the freshly released test subjects. Fortunately, we can just face tank our way through all the enemies and heal back up to full once we're through, thanks to the next dose of steroids we found upstairs. We avoided a fisting from Mr. X by boring this guy's head and made it back outside, with all the lab subjects on the hunt for us. Henry managed to take off just in time, but our insistence in wanting to take over the flight controls ended up causing us to crash. Oh shit. We'll just blame that one on Emily. Hearing all that commotion from outside, we took a peek out of the window to find the family helicopter destroyed. Having maxed out stats in gender fluidity, our sibling emerged out of the wreckage in a woman's body, abducting a child. She's really taking after dad. Even the climate change activists are after her. No idea how it got to this situation, but we had to keep the approaching sex offenders off of them. In a relaxing change of pace, protecting our newest family member was easy. With a single headshot of the rifle, we picked off the regular zombies one by one and dealt with Gordon Ramsay's replacement by blowing him up. After sliding off the roof and clearing a path with the help of the God combo, we made it inside the chapel. Considering the ability to switch body type on the fly, we had to find a name that wouldn't confuse the audience. Fortunately, I had just the right idea. Inspired by a dogshit brand of crisps, made up of 90% air and 10% disappointment, just with bad spelling. Lace.
What's going on with you? What are you talking about? You sound insane.
However, our plans were interrupted as there were big problems approaching, literally. So we told Sister Lace to get out of here with the kid while we stayed back to hold off the reinforcements. The chapel fight was our first massive challenge. A tiny arena packed with tons of blisterheads, lickers, chainsaw bastards, American police officers, and your mother was never a good time, and especially not on a permadeath run. But the key here was patience and picking the right targets. Popping the bloater's pimples would trigger a new wave of enemies to spawn in, which we had to deal with immediately. With the help of explosive canisters, a good kneecapping, or even the insane amounts of melee weapons our previous victims dropped off, we had plenty of tools available. To stay extra safe and avoid a serving of diarrhea straight into our mouth, we also made sure to lure the bloater up the stairs while we dealt with the other enemies. Or that was the plan at least, because it doesn't work if you set yourself on fire and get shot to death. Our better than average start to the challenge was surprising, which is why it was that much more frustrating when the next couple of attempts came to an end as soon as they started. However, while we didn't make any progress, we did find a couple of optimizations. By just sprinting past everyone in the opening area, we conserved one additional Requiem round, and learning to deal with the mental breakdown caused by not letting our intrusive thoughts win, we left all the crafting materials until it was collection time, boosting our ammo stockpile even further. And just 19 eye-watering attempts later, we finally made it back to the chapel. This time executing our strategy without setting ourselves on fire, letting us clean up the fight without much trouble, making it to the water treatment facility for the first time. With Lace having locked themselves in with Emily, we had to get the power back up and running to reach them, which meant we had to head down into the basement to face one of the most nerve-wracking segments of this challenge. But first we could finally retrieve one of the best weapons in the game, our main win condition for this run, the TAC 990 shotgun. A most welcome upgrade to our arsenal, a slick design, incredible stopping power, and a fire rate that puts me in the bedroom to shame. With our surplus of credits, we fully upgraded this baby and readied ourselves. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to flip on all 3 power switches inside the basement. Sounds simple on the surface, but with Marie and Mr. X plus a million enemies roaming the place, there's a lot that could go wrong. But still, I felt... We opened up the fight by juking past Mr. X, acquainted the child molester around the corner with the Chris Hansen shotgun, and headed for the light. Reflecting off his bald head, Mr. X momentarily transformed into the bat signal, buying us time to clear the path and line up a collateral with the Requiem, letting us flip on the first switch. By handing out permanent brain damage to the service worker approaching us, we avoided Mr. X's attack, returning to the main area, sight set on the second switch. This made Marie burst through the barrels, which lets us immediately stun her with the conveniently placed lamp around the corner, letting us turn on power source number 2, sending her into a frenzy, knocking down Mr. X as she ran off. But unfortunately, this is where everything went to shit. To quote the most misquoted man to ever live, hesitation is defeat. Not pulling the trigger right away meant our friend here came close enough to initiate the Requiem's execution animation, letting Marie get close enough to grab and bite us, taking a huge chunk out of our HP bar. While we did manage to fight her off, we now had to improvise. With a grab guaranteed as we attempt to flip the final switch, we had to make sure to lure Mr. X as close to the console as possible, because otherwise we would most certainly get sent back to the start of the game, which I'd like to avoid if possible. So we made a break for the back room to grab the switch, waited for Mr. X to approach while taking out the other enemies before initiating the grab sequence. But our trial by fire wasn't over just yet. We need to run. I can't see anything. Well, what's going on? Hello? What? What the fuck was that? I have no idea what happened there, but by what I can only assume was divine intervention, we survived, and our only option was to run. But fortunately, Marie's allergy to light saved us, as she knocked down Mr. X once again, clearing us a path to the final switch. And against all odds, we made it back to the elevator on our first attempt, opening the shutters and burning Marie into a humongous pile of shit. However, our reunion with our brother, sister, Brista was not exactly what we expected, as they were being attacked by a monster, and so we stepped in to protect them. But they were begging and pleading for us to stop. It was Emily we were pointing our gun at, and they were just about to indoctrinate her with the false promises of late-stage capitalism. But we had only one thing to say: we hate kids, and we are going for the vitals. Emily fell and Lace burst into tears, demanding we stay away from them as they ran off. Lace found Victor near the exit, who congratulated them on making it this far, and it was finally time to meet up with someone very special.
You're exactly where you need to be.
For you.
In the meantime, Leon collapsed. The reheated Taco Bell from Gordon's kitchen was coming back up. But with the local healthcare providers for some reason being unavailable, we had to travel to reach our second facility, which unfortunately meant we had to go to the worst place on Earth. Arriving in Raccoon City, or how most Americans think Europe looks like, we had a strange feeling that this was going to be the toughest challenge we've faced so far. The streets were teeming with crack addicts, bothering us for money, and giant monsters were trying to kill us. This really is Florida. Thankfully, the insane amount of ammo we had on us let us eradicate RC spider population, as well as the meth addicts preparing to fight off Hurricane Irma. But unfortunately, Floridian Spider-Man was not about helping people, but eating them, which with the help of some armed police officers ready to shoot civilians, turned out to be a bit of a problem. However, by looping our spidery friend around the arena and jumping back down, we can just sneak back around to introduce them to our hatchet, or worst case, just shoot them. If we then wait for Spidey to come crawling back down to initiate his twerking session, we can jump back up on the ledge to unload our shotgun into his anus. Repeating this loop a couple of times lets us take care of our spider problem for the time being, and a quick pit stop at the average train station in Germany later, we arrived at the gate to Raccoon City Center. With the key nowhere to be found, the simplest way was to blow it up. We just had to find the right tools, and luckily for us, there were plenty of military camps with the supplies we needed. God bless America. This led us to the warehouse, and at first glance this area doesn't seem intimidating, but that changes as soon as we take one step too many, spawning in the entire population of France to force feed us baguettes via the anus. The exit, however, wasn't blocked off, so if we quickly take out the gunmen at the start, we can just leave, avoiding certain death. Picking up the Cedarbrook apartment keys on our way to the roof, where we found the first part of the detonator, as well as some more steroids. Moving on, we made it to the parking garage, where wow, what a surprise, we had to restore power again. But first we dealt with the crackheads loitering in front of the exit, to avoid unwanted consequences later on. We decided to head to waste disposal first, a horrible place filled with elderly women fawning over George Clooney, the first of many insta-kill borderline unkillable chainsaw hazards, and my least favorite, The Last of Us ripoff, accompanied by the usual troglodytes. But by simply waiting out the opening attack of the bloater and parrying the chainsaw maniac, we can make it up the stairs and wait for everyone to come rushing us. Blowing up the explosive canister should clear out most enemies, and if we then lure everyone left to the explosives downstairs, only big chungus should remain. But since I fucked it up, we had to waste a few extra rounds on Dr. Salvador here. Fortunately, the bloater taking 3 business days to respond bought us more than enough time to fully turn the wheel, opening up the path out of here, letting us grab the first battery. The second battery was located in the office all the way at the back of the garage, but because we dealt with everyone in front of the gate, we could just jump down, initiating solid Leon protocol, letting us sneak up on our unsuspecting victims, even if one guy was absolutely determined to foil our plans. He peeks around the corner, the sucker shit. We bombed the office to retrieve the second battery and also got our hands on the stakeout takeout charm, restoring our HP with every enemy killed, which should come in very handy. But as we finally tasted sunlight again, we discovered a murder site. Surely that was just one big misunderstanding, right? Oh well, at least now we had access to the BSAA containers all over the city. The first one right here lets us stock up on blood for the first time in hours, which was just beautiful. Before we continued our hunt for the detonator parts, there was one more item we needed to grab. Located at the far end of the street, there was another container containing our next weapon upgrade. So we snuck up on the enemies roaming the streets and bombed the homeless people sleeping inside the container to get our hands on the Marksman 1A, the semi-automatic sniper rifle. It might not pack as much of a punch as its bolt-action counterpart, but the increased fire rate and huge magazine size more than make up for it. We headed back to open the shortcut to base camp to upgrade our weapons, fix up the body armor, and readied ourselves for one of the hardest sections in the game, the gas station. I still see this place in my nightmares, but as they say, fortune favors the mentally ill, so we threw ourselves back into the fray, but this time with a plan. The opening could easily be managed by using stealth to lick the lickers before they could lick us, and by dropping through the ceiling like some mass-murdering version of Santa Claus, we took out the third licker without getting drawn into a fight. But unfortunately, as soon as we picked up the fuel canister, the American military descended upon us to protect their fossil fuel reserves. However, if we immediately turn around and hand out democracy to the guy near the exit, we can hold this corner to send the incoming reinforcements straight to heaven with the help of some friendly fire, bringing us to phase 2. By sprinting outside to blow up the explosive canister, we signal the attack dogs to come and murder us. But if we hold the spot inside the door, we can take them out with the Requiem before they reach us. Pairing that with our killer deal on a brand new used chainsaw, our customers form an orderly queue, letting us hand out free brain surgery for their much appreciated business, making sure every single one of these troglodytes' heads was exploded was crucial for the final phase, bringing with it another chainsaw psychopath, an accurate representation of US police officers, countless additional crack addicts, as well as your mother returning for another filling, this time bringing your sister along. After spending 14 hours locked into this shithole on our previous challenge, you would assume that I would be able to beat this blindfolded while playing with my feet, and in theory I had a foolproof strategy. In theory, if we stagger this guy in the doorframe, we delay crack addict Dr. Salvador long enough for the bomb guy to spawn in, letting us immediately vaporize our chainsaw problem. And since we made sure none of the enemies in here were able to transform, we could use our absolutely insane amounts of grenades to quickly take out the first bloater. But unfortunately, the autism only flows through my head, not my hands. This mishap turned the entire fight into an unmanageable clusterfuck. But by chucking grenades like we were handing out Halloween candy, we managed to take down the first bloater and barely made it outside in one piece. Continuing our favorite pastime of blowing up people, we looped everyone around back inside, finally letting us take out the chainsaw man. And despite my dogshit aim, we managed to get the bloater down to his last pimple, finishing him off with the help of some tools the construction crew left behind, somehow surviving this nightmare on our first attempt. With the fuel finally in our possession, we had access to some new areas, one of them containing one of the most powerful items we could get our hands on, so we headed there next. Almost dying from a heart attack in the subway station later, this was a bad idea, we made it back to the starting area. We opened up the final BSAA container, letting us stock up on some more blood, the BSAA emblem charm for a nice boost to our sniper rifle's firepower, and most importantly, the Mortal Edge, an improved version of our hatchet, coming in at almost double the parry frames, an absolutely essential item for finishing this run. With our power level approaching the maximum, it was time to collect the remaining detonator parts. Our first stop, the Cedarbrook Apartments. To get the experience of what it was like to live in the Middle East, we first had to retrieve the crank to unlock access to the roof. But as we jumped down to the ground floor, I couldn't help but think that this was going to fucking suck. With 3 lickers ready to caress our caboose as we were violently murdering the officer spectating from his cuck chair, reinforcements were pouring in from above. But as they say, when in doubt, just bomb the place, which surprisingly worked quite well, letting us take care of the armed forces, and with our improved parry prowess, we got to show off our black belt in karate on the lickers. With the crank retrieved, we made our way to the roof to immediately get greeted by mortar fire. The calming sounds of explosives going off right next to us was just what we needed to take out the mortar operators. But as soon as we moved in closer, things took a turn for the worse. Enemy reinforcements were coming in from all sides, led by another chainsaw murderer. It was time to leave. Mortar fire and chainsaws go about as well together as billionaires and appropriate conduct around minors. Luring the army downstairs and picking them off one by one seemed like the best strategy here, as long as you don't run face first into a chainsaw. No, 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 no. What the fuck am I doing? And just like that, hours of progress wasted by dying in the most idiotic way imaginable. I'm not going to lie, I was quite upset losing the run like this. But there was a silver lining here. We made it through fights that went tits up as soon as they started, which meant as long as we made sure to avoid any insta-kill attacks, we could make up for our subpar gameplay with our immensely powerful arsenal, right? So we kept going, each attempt improving our pathing, optimizing our resource collection. And despite the colossal fuck up of failing to defend Grace for the first time ever, we made it back in just 13 attempts. This time taking out the chainsaw maniac before our torso got turned into a vagina. Clearing out the upper floor surprisingly went much smoother than I expected. Blowing up the welcoming committee cleared a path to the mortar, letting us supply these crackheads with some good old-fashioned American freedom. The second detonator part was finally ours, and to top it off, we even got our hands on some more steroids. We handled the reinforcements with a warm welcome, a 600 degrees Celsius welcome to be precise. Side
sights set on the final part. We slid across the rooftops into the local crack den. Turns out jet fuel can melt steel beams after all, and while I admire the creativity, I prefer not having to construct my own floor by tearing down parts of the building. The security forces being juiced up on meth might explain why the floor is made out of windows, but honestly for our purposes this actually came in quite handy, as we sent them skydiving without a parachute. We made sure to clear the explosives hidden away to avoid a repeat from last time we were here, and used the addicts' love for explosives against them when they came charging at us, letting us collect the final part of the detonator. Now we just had to get back down, which required us to turn these two wheels to get the elevator back up and running. Reaching the first wheel was quite straightforward. With the help of our rifle we leveled the playing field by leveling this guy's molecular structure, took out Madonna blocking our exit, causing her fans to come and strangle us. But this gave us a clear path out via the box. Or not then. Am I dead? Please. Oh my god. No, no. I fucking hate this game. A mental breakdown and 3 hours later we were back. This time making sure to shoot down the box, letting us reach the first wheel. But accessing the second one won't be that easy. The massive amounts of enemies blocking our path was a problem. But the silent nature of our rifle came in clutch, as we could take out the singing lady and some additional enemies thanks to the conveniently placed glory hole here, without getting spotted. After we dodged past the reincarnation of Chunk, I decided to make a run for it. But I forgot about one very annoying enemy, the motor operator. And this was going to come back to haunt us. While the absolute stunlock bullshit that occurred here was bullshit, this one was on me. I don't know what sort of cataclysmic brain hemorrhage ruptured inside of me to just rush straight into 3 million enemies, but I think the pressure of the run was getting to me. The closer we got to the RPD, the more I was convinced that if we made it there, we had the run in the bag. And to just lose the run mere minutes away, back to back, was absolutely soul-crushing. And so we close out another day of attempts with an accurate description of my life. A monumental failure. Our next 4 attempts ended in similar fashion, just more embarrassing, but despite slowly going insane from repeating the care center segment for the 300 millionth time, we were becoming faster and more consistent at clearing it, which resulted in attempt 44, where we finally made it back. With the much more careful approach of taking out every single enemy one by one and dealing with the motor operator straight away, we slowly cleared the path to the second wheel. We boarded the elevator back down, politely informed our uninvited guests to fuck off, reaching the gate with all detonator parts for the first time. Arriving at the RPD, I felt confident. With some of the toughest sections behind us, we were on track to finally beat this challenge. The inside of the police station was completely deserted. I'm just gonna assume the officers were preoccupied with gunning down innocent civilians, but this let us access the central computer, where we saw Leon with our dad. What were they doing here? We had to reach them, but for that we needed access to the East Wing. So we made our way to the library to retrieve Ye Old Faithful, enjoyed a much needed gooning session, and grabbed the Power Shades charm for the Requiem, as well as the Stars Emblem charm for our final weapon upgrade. We would grab later.
Mr. Kennedy Sr. explained to Lace that they discovered something groundbreaking, the ability to rewrite human consciousness, recreate them without their weakness, no morals, no ethics, just straight up ultra-capitalists. And they were the first success. Oh, of course, it's clones. How original. Lace was the perfect replacement for the weak-minded, tree-hugging socialist he used to call a son. Wait a second. I've heard that somewhere before. As Lace suffered a stroke from this completely asinine revelation of a plot point, we stepped in, but our dad took off with them with a final loving goodbye, manifesting in the form of massive internal bleeding. Escaping this absolutely unhinged alopecia patient was
light work, but I had a feeling this wasn't going to be the last we would see of him. Even though we were still in desperate need of our IBS medication and that we should see to saving our brother, we had one more important stop to make: the parking garage, containing the final piece of the Exodia, the cute bear charm, turning the TAC 990 into a straight up cannon. However, to get it, we had to fight a duel to the death, with Hank Jr. ambushing us from the shadows. This fight is honestly quite easy, as long as you don't play like a complete imbecile, which naturally is exactly what I did. We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen, okay? With the bear charm secured, we grabbed another dose of steroids, finally maxing out our HP bar, tricked the game into providing us additional shotgun shells once again, and made our way to Kendo's, where we got greeted by our big blue bald friend, throwing a predator missile at us. But despite his incredibly masculine presence and sex appeal, we kept a cool head, as we had the perfect strategy to deal with him. As soon as the fight starts, we book it for the back of the car, right next to him, turning around immediately to position ourselves right here, and then we start blasting. With the last shell, we blow up the conveniently placed explosive guy behind him and reposition again. This puts us in a spot where we are safe from any of his attacks, and we get to unload onto him until the fight's over. But that's not what actually happened. I was too slow, destroying our chance at cheesing the fight, meaning we had to deal with Mr. X as well as his cronies, the old-fashioned way, which made this whole ordeal just a tad more miserable. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? However, our absolutely insane amounts of healing items came in clutch, letting us survive some very close calls. The bear-charmed shotgun's stopping power was instrumental in keeping these stick-wielding troglodytes off of us, while we ran around like a headless chicken. But keeping up the barrage and spamming healing items like there was no tomorrow worked like a charm, and just a couple of minutes later, we actually won the fight. This went about as terrible as it could have, but we still made it. With the help of our incredible gardening skills, we descended into the Raccoon City Canyon for our next boss fight against Plant 42. Just to be safe, we cleared out the annoying bullshit waiting for us before initiating the fight. I still don't know how I ever struggled with this fight, as literally the only thing we have to do here is run left or right depending on which of its tentacles wanted to enter us without our consent, and that's it. So we set it on fire, making it to arc for the very first time. As we made it past the welcoming committee, the pressure was on. We were approaching the final stages of the run. Now it was really time to focus. The shop provided us with some very welcome additional resources before we headed to the server room. To make the upcoming section less prone to bullshit, we cleared out everyone sleeping on the job before we entered the central security office. Inside we found the carbine, our final weapon upgrade, replacing our pistol. And seeing as we hadn't touched any machine gun ammo up until now, we were absolutely loaded. Jesus Christ.
Our dad had taken Lace to the heart of the facility, central processing, but our unwanted presence had alerted his private security forces to come and murder us.
However, if we throw a stacked grenade as soon as they arrive, we take out everyone besides the shield enemies, which we can quickly clean up with the help of some gas canisters. We quickscope the rest of the soldiers inside the stockroom, spawn camp the reinforcements, and unleash the liquor on anyone still remaining, letting us sneak through to face the one and only Hank. In my opinion, the hardest fight by a landslide, which is why we're not going to take any chances.
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the unstoppable Exodia. Impossible!
Okay, I think we've got to back up a little here. During our previous challenge, I accidentally stumbled upon this area in Raccoon City. I wasn't even aware this existed before, but up here we can find a rocket launcher tucked away, ready for the taking, should we survive the challenge. Because as soon as we opened the box, shit hit the fan, spawning in Spider-Man, 2 chainsaw cunts, 3 million crack addicts, while we get bombed from the opposite side of the map. This was just Straight up dog shit, costing us an additional attempt earlier on. But if we take out the motor operator as soon as the fight starts, we can just run our spidery friend around the cars while we take care of the chainsaw problem with the Requiem. Once they're gone, we can just get the spider stuck in an endless cycle of trying to catch up to us while we slowly kill it, rewarding us with the rocket launcher to, in theory, win the hunk fight instantly. I missed. No! I don't know how this keeps happening in every single challenge I attempt, but let's just say drop kicking my monitor out of the window never felt so enticing before. Add on top of that our next couple of attempts were straight up disasters, and I was straight up losing it. I swear to God, if I got shot in the head each time I died here, I wouldn't have to do this shit anymore. Tensions as well as alcohol consumption were at an all-time high. If I had to see the care center one more time, I was going to have an actual aneurysm.
I hate this place.
But this inner rage, the absolute hatred I felt for this game, it fueled me. And on attempt number 50, we had what I would like to call the God Run. Our resources were absolutely monstrous. We basically had infinite ammo and healing items. Our IQ just the right side of room temperature, and our cock gigantic, relatively speaking. We were putting up our best performance yet, and 5 hours in, we finally made it back. This time firing the rocket as soon as the fight started, winning it instantly, with the additional help of the explosive canisters to take out Hunk's little helpers. We just about made it past Mr. X's punch to our nuts, reaching Central Refinement, where they just finished up Lace's firmware update. Oh, so it's not clones, but robots. Even more original. Our presence angered Papa, who showed us why we should still be calling him Daddy. Lace, however, found a more elegant solution to deal with this situation, buying us just enough time to Luke Skywalker this bitch, getting both of us out of here alive, at least for now. Our peaceful slumber unfortunately was disrupted by Mr. Model Shite over here having an existential crisis of how he was going to provide shareholder value from down here. His delirium led him to ask the most important question artificial life could pose.
Does this unit have a soul?
No.
Fucking clankers. With the robot dealt with, it was time to switch the focus to the white old man in charge. There was just one problem. Our path was blocked, so we headed into the lab to get access to the crane controls. But unfortunately, instead of scientists, we were greeted by drug addicts. Quality has really gone to shit over the past couple of years, but that was actually a blessing in disguise for us, as we easily managed to clear out every single enemy in the East Wing, granting us access to the override key, and one important item we'll need later on, the acid bottle, capable of dissolving liquors at the press of a button. We made it back to the start of the area and cleared the crane blocking our way out. But before we headed that way, we had to explore the lab further, for game progression reasons. To open the door to the central computer, we had to find 2 balls tucked away somewhere inside of the lab. So we returned to the East Wing first to get our hands on the Animus orb inside the clean room. You do know that the kitchen is downstairs, right? Picking up the orb caused the entire building security force to come after us, but by slipping them a stacked grenade, we made it out of there in a flash. Unfortunately, the West Wing wasn't as straightforward. With tons of lickers roaming the area, we had to carefully navigate our way through to get to the Noblesse orb. On our way out, we picked up our second acid bottle after taking care of the lickers up here, and fighting our way out despite the army of reinforcements was what professionals in this business call light work. Taking our time and picking them off one by one minimized the risks for any unexpected bullshit. And with the help of a well-timed grenade, we cleared the path back to the ball door. Arriving at the central computer, we finally revealed the truth. The autism was strong with us. And the reason the game forced us through the lab was to show us the best episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series, to honor a legend taken from us far too soon. Tears streaming down my face, we set out to return to main processing. But the mental derangement of repeating the care center segment 50 times was taking its toll on us, periodically taking away control of our ability to defend ourselves by inducing an aneurysm, which on a permadeath run was not exactly ideal. deal. With the power out for the millionth time, this round we had to tackle the Licker Gauntlet. But with the mortal edge at our side, even fighting the Lickers head-on was no challenge. However, as soon as we opened up the path to the elevator keys, the remaining lab rejects put up a last stand to stop us. So we had a choice to make. We either run or we fight. And we chose to fight. Which, let me tell you, was a terrible idea. While blowing up the first guy made this look somewhat promising, these chainsaw assholes were basically invincible. And we ended up cornered. Oh my god! That was so close. Oh god, what the fuck is wrong with these assholes? Why are they so tanky? What the fuck is going on here? I don't know how we survived, but we take those. We grabbed the elevator keys and ran for our lives, ready to tackle the final battle before the finale. This fight is the reason we picked up the acid bottles earlier, because as soon as we started the elevator back up, a literal army of lickers came flying out of the vents. And these babies were incredible at melting these smooth brains apart. But despite having a plan, mistakes were made. We ended up getting hit, causing me to panic, and we were on a timer. If we didn't manage to clear out the first wave quickly enough, we'd get overrun when the reinforcements spawn in. No, not again. No! 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 Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory never felt so gut-wrenching. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this after all. As I sat there holding back the tears, contemplating if it wouldn't be better to just end this YouTube thing here and now. But if the years of abuse I endured playing League of Legends taught me anything, it's that the French are the worst teammates. Wait, no, not that. You never log off on a losing streak. And so we decided to queue up for one more run. Am I dead? I'm dead. I'm dead! Maybe just one more. With my neighbors probably thinking I was performing a ritual to summon the ghost of Adolf Hitler, in just over 5 hours we made it back. This time keeping our cool, taking care of phase 1 in record speed, letting us set up to instantly vaporize the second wave as soon as they spawned in, leaving us with just one more surprise to deal with. No. Am I dead? No. Am I dead? What in the fuck is happening? If we die here, I'm gonna fucking cry. Okay, this is it. I don't know what would have happened had I died here, but you probably wouldn't be watching this video. We made it back to Central Refinement to confront Papa, but dropping the bombshell that his precious robot had been converted to e-waste was all we needed to rupture the long overdue brain aneurysm. Having caused our dad's head to spontaneously combust was not exactly how we expected this to go, but once Victor stepped into the room and laid eyes on the situation, he was furious. Not only did we steal his fanfic he was planning to sell to unhappily married middle-aged woman, but we killed his mentor and employer, and now he was gonna kill us. With our absolutely insane arsenal of ammo and healing items, the Gideon fight should be free. We just needed him to drop us the rocket launcher, which happened so fast I almost didn't notice. This is it. As soon as the rocket hits, we've done it. No. Time stood still. My heart literally dropped out of my asshole. I couldn't believe that for the third challenge in a row, we missed. And to make things worse, this time we didn't have the luxury of reloading our last checkpoint. We had to win this fight somehow. Palms sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, there's vomit on my keyboard already, and my monitor's fist holes ready. But against all odds, we pulled it together and kept firing. Or actually, to be honest, this was complete dog shit. We just face tanked everything thanks to the 3 billion heals we had stockpiled. Victor fell, bringing us to his ultimate form, Nemesis, the grand finale. I'm not gonna lie, this was by far and away the worst performance I've ever put up for this fight. I was shaking so much you'd think I was a vibrator. I could barely hit the easiest parry in the game, but our heals came in clutch, and with a final stacked grenade, we were going to end this. This is it! Oh my god, that was the worst Victor fight of all time, but we fucking did it. This is it. We fucking did it. Yes! We fucking did it. And so, after 52 attempts, we made it, drawing to a close the easiest yet somehow hardest challenge I've ever attempted. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. All mods and the full uncut run are in the description, and until next time.